when you're doing breakdowns like this, your imagination is your only limitation, right? Like, because there is literally like a million and one ways of doing a breakdown, and it's just a matter of like finding which one suits your animation and your character the best, right? So maybe we start with that. Okay, so like his body's coming this way. Okay, and that'll be, let's say that's frame 17. Now I'm not marrying myself to that. That's just like where I'm starting to go. And then between this one and this one, where can we go, right? So from there, we can go slightly higher, maybe. Just go slightly up. Right? And maybe a slight little anticipation. So it's kind of a little bit more of a kind of an upwards move. So he sees the parents go, and then that's his cue, right? To go, let's get the water pistols, right? So we might get a little bit of a play there, where his mouth might kind of open up a little bit more there. Starts to break out of this, so it's almost like he's kind of leading with his head, right? And then as soon as he comes down, that's where he'll start to loosen up, right? So we're seeing that pose, and it's almost like what we talk about, like a slow out, right? You're slowing out of that actual pose. You're favoring the pose, right? Okay, and then coming from here over to there, let's see what kind of a breakdown we can do, right? So in here, we can get the head sort of like going a nice little smear frame, maybe, like where we would do like a little bit of a scale on the head. You know, start to open up the eyes. Even here, I think I probably would actually even open the eye, you know, so it really gets into that pose. Okay, and then like the mouth, maybe start to open it a little bit here. Start to see a little bit of that tooth. Maybe drag the ear. So a smear frame is really like where you're trying to stretch the head a little bit, so you're trying to overlap the images, right? In other words, like trying to take some of the strobiness away, and it gives the character a nice fluidity, right? And then as we're coming up from here up to there, let's get that hand so it has a little bit of overlap to it too, right? So we could maybe get the hand like with a little bit of drag coming around, right? So maybe the hand does something like this. A little bit of drag, right? And when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I like to keep it nice and rough because I don't want to commit myself to it yet, you know? Just keeping the drawings nice and loose and rough. And then this other hand is coming up just a little bit less broad than the action hand, right? Like that's just basically just coming up from below, like from the side. Okay, and here, and then his hair might be kind of dragging a little bit there, and then it might overlap like into that last pose, and then like on ones, right? So we can kind of think about like from here to here, right? So that would basically just be like a normal in between, right? So we can kind of show the in betweens next there, like from here to here. We can kind of just see, okay, it's around there. Something like this, and we're just going to draw it in nice and roughly, you know, just so we can get the idea of what it is. Because in CG, like we're always on ones, right? Unless we're doing like step mode 2s, like Spider-Verse or something. I remember my very first feature at Disney was Fantasia 2000. And we actually did sort of the Tin Soldier segment was on 2s. And it was sort of like step mode, like it was Alias Wavefront's Power Animator that we were animating it in. And I remember it was they wanted everything on 2s because they wanted to have like a little bit more of that 2D sort of feel to the animation. Right, this tooth in there, All right, so we get that little bit of looseness right there. Okay, and then between here and here, I'm always going to favor that previous pose, right? So it's going to come up, and then I'm going to start, because the spacing we want to get like at the top here, and then we want it to go faster. And then the transition can be nice and fast, and then we want to slow in to our next pose, right? So in here, let's see if I can keep the head somewhere around here, right? Just to get that spacing. Okay, and then the eye will start to close up. Maybe we'll start to drop the eye down. We probably wouldn't even see this, but it might be nice just to kind of get the idea of the eye looking in the direction that we're actually going to be going in, right? Something like this. Okay, squishing the body a little bit there, right? And then the arms starting to loosen up, starting to come from the ground, from beside his body. Start to see that the fingers come in there. Okay, and then the other hand, start to see that maybe come around, right? This little hip and his back right there. So again, just kind of keeping those drawings nice and loose so we can just kind of get the idea of what's actually going on. And then from here to here, this we could almost have like on ones, like we could almost go right from that to that on one frame. In fact, let's have a look just real quick. Yeah, I feel like we could probably go from that to that on one frame. So where would I steal or add the time? I would probably add the time maybe like from here to here. So I'm gonna just put that, drag these guys down, right? So basically this one down, this one here, this one down, this one down. So this one would be like just a regular in between here, and then between here and here, now we want to get to our basically our final pose pretty much, because I want to be able to get that spacing, right? So it basically went from, you know, very slow, just picking up speed, a gap, and then we want it to slow in at the end, right? So basically we want to try and get this, right? We want to try and get that kind of a feel, right? Because right after this, he's going to start doing his dialogue. So he's not just going to stop in that pose, right? But we want to try and get to that pose, and even like the actual character itself, like, so getting away from the stretched head and all that kind of stuff. So everything's starting to lock into place, right?